I'll start with why calm matters. Calm is often misunderstood. People tend to associate it with passivity, as if being calm means accepting defeat or letting others walk over you. But calm is not surrender, it's mastery. It's the quiet confidence that comes from knowing you have control over yourself, even when the world around you seems determined to shake you. In moments of disrespect, that control becomes your greatest advantage. When someone disrespects you, their intention, conscious or not, is often to pull you into their chaos. They want a reaction because reaction gives them power. The louder you respond, the more control you lose. Staying calm, then, isn't about ignoring the insult. It's about refusing to hand over your emotional remote control. Calm is the difference between responding with clarity and reacting with confusion. Think of calm as the pause before precision. When a surgeon enters the operating room, they don't rush. They prepare, they breathe, they focus. That same principle applies to conflict. The calm mind sees options that the angry mind never notices. It's in that stillness that you can decide what outcome you truly want. Do you want peace, or do you want proof that you were right? One gives you growth, the other gives you a momentary win and a lasting void. Calm doesn't erase emotion. It organizes it. You still feel the sting of disrespect, the rush of adrenaline, the tightness in your chest. But you observe those feelings instead of becoming them. The power lies in the observer's seat. When you can step back and watch your emotions without letting them steer the wheel, you transform from being reactive to being intentional. In a world that glorifies quick comebacks and public clapbacks, calm is an act of rebellion. It's saying, I don't need to perform my worth to prove it. The calm person understands that silence can speak louder than any response, that dignity outlasts drama. It's the kind of strength that can't be faked. People can sense it, and it disarms them more than any words ever could. Calm creates space to think, to understand, to respond wisely. And in that space, respect can either be rebuilt or boundaries can be drawn. Without calm, there's only collision. But with it, there's room for awareness and choice. You stop reacting to the disrespect itself and start responding to the situation as a whole. When you stay calm, you send a message, not just to others, but to yourself, that you are in charge of your own energy. You remind yourself that other people's behavior is a reflection of them, not a definition of you. Calm becomes a declaration of self-respect. I decide what moves me. It shifts the focus from trying to control the world to mastering the self. And in mastering that, you find a deeper kind of power, the kind that doesn't depend on being seen, heard, or understood by everyone else. It's the power of being grounded when others lose their footing, of standing firm not because the storm is over, but because you've learned to stand in the middle of it without being swept away. Oz redefined disrespect. Disrespect feels personal because it's designed to. The words sting, the tone cuts, and the energy shifts. In that instant, your body reacts as if you've been attacked, because in a way you have. But here's the truth. Most disrespect has very little to do with you. It's a reflection of the other person's internal battle projected outward. When someone belittles, mocks, or dismisses you, they are often expressing how they feel about themselves. Their words are mirrors, not measurements. It's easy to take disrespect as a verdict on your value. But the moment you accept someone's poor behavior as a statement about your worth, you hand them the authority to define you. And no one deserves that power. Redefining disrespect means seeing it for what it truly is, a symptom, not a sentence. It's the outer expression of someone's inner disorder. When you can recognize that, their words stop being weapons and start becoming information. You begin to notice patterns. People who are secure rarely humiliate others. Those who feel seen don't need to silence anyone. Disrespect usually comes from insecurity dressed as dominance. When you understand this, you no longer need to retaliate. You begin to empathize, not out of weakness, but out of wisdom. You stop asking, why me? And start asking, what's hurting them? That small shift changes everything. Redefining disrespect also means separating intent from impact. Some people are unaware of how their words land. Others use disrespect as armor to hide fear. Your calm allows you to discern the difference. Instead of reacting to the offense, you start reading the story behind it. That perspective doesn't excuse their behavior, but it frees you from absorbing it. When you stop taking disrespect personally, you start reclaiming your peace. You no longer need to correct every false narrative or fight every provocation. You understand that your worth isn't up for debate. The disrespect becomes background noise in a world that's full of static, and your attention remains focused on the signal, your values, your goals, your integrity. Seeing disrespect through this lens transforms how you interact with others. You become less defensive and more discerning. You learn to filter out noise without becoming numb. You stay compassionate without being complacent. You respond from understanding, not from ego. Every act of disrespect is an opportunity to practice perspective. It's a reminder that the person in front of you is fighting battles you can't see, and the best thing you can do is not join the fight, but rise above it. When you redefine disrespect, you take its power away. And once it loses power over you, it can no longer dictate your peace, your reaction, or your sense of self. As understand the biology of reactivity, when disrespect strikes, your body moves before your mind does. The heart rate jumps, the muscles tighten, the jaw locks. It's biology, not bad temper. Your nervous system reads disrespect as danger, and your ancient brain, built for survival, kicks into fight, flight, or freeze. It doesn't distinguish between a physical threat and a verbal one. It just wants to protect you. That's why calm feels impossible in the moment. It's not a lack of discipline, it's chemistry. Inside your brain, the amygdala, the part responsible for emotional responses, fires up like an alarm. It shouts before the rational part of your brain, the prefrontal cortex, even gets a chance to think. That's why you might blurt something out, raise your voice, or shut down completely before you even realize what's happening. The amygdala's job is speed, not wisdom. It acts first, and it asks questions later. Understanding this process isn't just science, it's strategy. Because once you know what's happening inside you, you can interrupt it. You can name it. This is my brain protecting me. That simple recognition creates distance between stimulus and response. In that distance, you gain choice. You shift from autopilot to awareness. Instead of reacting to disrespect, you start responding to it. When you breathe deeply, you send a signal back to your nervous system that the threat isn't life or death. Your body begins to recalibrate. The heart rate slows. The tension eases. The prefrontal cortex comes back online, allowing logic and empathy to re-enter the conversation. That's why calm isn't just emotional control. It's biological regulation. You're not suppressing your reaction, you're rewiring it. The people who seem naturally calm under pressure aren't born that way. They've practiced this awareness. They've trained themselves to recognize the surge of adrenaline, to wait for it to pass before speaking or acting. Their calm isn't luck, it's learned biology. It's what happens when you stop letting the body lead the mind and start letting the mind lead the body. This understanding also helps you see others differently. When someone lashes out at you, you realize they're not in control either. Their amygdala is hijacking them. They're drowning in their own reaction. Seeing this doesn't make their behavior acceptable, but it helps you separate the human from the hostility. You stop personalizing and start observing. In that observation, you find compassion, not the soft kind that tolerates abuse, but the strong kind that understands and stands firm. You stay calm not because you're unaffected, but because you understand what's really happening beneath the surface for both of you. And when you understand that, you realize calm isn't an emotion. It's a biological mastery that turns a moment of instinct into a moment of intention. As detach emotion from ego is the voice inside that insists, they can't talk to me like that. It's the part of us that craves acknowledgement, fairness, and validation. When we're disrespected, the ego feels bruised, and it demands immediate repair, usually through retaliation. But the problem is, ego reacts faster than reason. It doesn't seek peace, it seeks payback. Detaching emotion from ego begins with recognizing that not every feeling deserves a performance, and not every provocation deserves a response. When someone disrespects you, your first instinct might be to defend yourself. That's human. But often what we're defending isn't truth. It's pride. We want to be right, to be seen, to restore our image in the eyes of others. Yet every time you fight for validation from someone who disrespected you, you reinforce the idea that their opinion holds power over you. True strength isn't in defending your worth. It's in knowing it so deeply that no one can take it from you. Detaching emotion from ego doesn't mean becoming emotionless. It means understanding where your feelings come from and deciding which ones deserve your energy. You can feel anger without acting on it. You can feel hurt without letting it define your next move. Emotional maturity is the art of feeling fully but responding wisely. It's the difference between expression and explosion. When you let ego lead, every insult feels like an attack on your identity. But when you lead with self-respect, you see disrespect as a reflection of the other person's state, not yours. Your calm becomes your boundary. You stop trying to control how others see you and start focusing on how you see yourself. The less you need external validation, the less power others have to shake you. Ego thrives on reaction, it feeds on attention. When you refuse to react, the ego loses its audience. You begin to see that silence can be louder than words, and restraint can be stronger than rage. The calm mind doesn't suppress emotion. It channels it into clarity. You learn to respond not to prove a point, but to preserve your peace. Detaching from ego also opens the door to empathy. When you're no longer blinded by self-defense, you can see others more clearly. You start to understand that their disrespect might stem from pain, insecurity, or misunderstanding that doesn't justify their behavior, but it frees you from matching their energy. You rise above it, not because you're better, but because you're wiser. Every time you choose calm over ego, you strengthen your sense of self. You start to build a kind of quiet confidence that doesn't rely on anyone's approval. You realize that respect isn't something you demand, it's something you embody. And when you embody it, the world begins to mirror it back to you in time. In detaching emotion from ego, you stop fighting to be right and start choosing to be centered. You discover that dignity isn't something others give you. It's something you hold on to, even when they try to take it away. Master the pause. The pause is one of the most underrated forms of strength. In a world that glorifies quick reactions and sharp comebacks, the ability to wait, to breathe, to observe, to think is a quiet rebellion. When disrespect hits, Your instincts scream for a response. You want to correct the narrative, defend your name, or return the sting. But mastery lies in resisting that impulse. The pause isn't weakness, it's wisdom in motion. It's the moment you choose not to give your emotions the microphone before your mind is ready to speak. The pause gives you ownership over the moment. When you react instantly, you're letting the other person set the tempo. They control the rhythm, you just dance to their chaos. But when you pause, you reclaim control. You decide when and how to move next. That silence, even if it's just a few seconds, shifts the power dynamic. The other person expects escalation. What they get instead is composure. And composure confuses people who rely on conflict to feel in control. There's science behind this. During a pause, your brain gets the chance to transition from emotional reactivity to rational processing. It's in those few seconds that the storm inside you begins to settle. You're not avoiding confrontation. You're choosing the conditions under which you engage. You're saying, I will respond, but I will do it from clarity, not chaos. That simple choice can change the entire trajectory of a conversation. The pause also invites observation. When you slow down, you notice details that would otherwise blur in the heat of emotion. The tone, the posture, the pain behind someone's words. Sometimes what feels like disrespect is actually frustration, fear, or misunderstanding. Other times it's deliberate provocation. The pause helps you tell the difference. It turns reaction into reflection. People often underestimate the power of calm silence. It speaks volumes without uttering a word. It says, I see what's happening, but I won't be dragged into it. Silence disarms aggression because it removes the fuel it needs to burn. The more you practice it, the more natural it becomes. Eventually, the pause stops being something you have to force. It becomes your default mode of strength. The pause isn't just about controlling your outward reaction, it's about realigning your inner world. In that quiet moment, you remind yourself of who you are and what kind of person you want to be. You shift from reacting to disrespect to reinforcing self-respect. The pause becomes the space where self-awareness and self-control shake hands. When you master the pause, you stop losing yourself in the moment. You stop saying things you'll regret or doing things that drain your peace. You give yourself permission to respond only when your words and actions align with your values. You stop letting emotion dictate behavior and start letting purpose lead the way. And in mastering that moment between what happens to you and how you respond, you discover that the pause isn't empty. It's full of choice, power, and presence. It's where composure is born and where respect, both given and received, truly begins. Choose curiosity over confrontation. When disrespect shows up, confrontation feels like the natural response. You want to push back, correct the record, or make the other person feel what you felt. But confrontation keeps you locked in opposition. It becomes a tug of war where both sides pull for control and nobody wins. Curiosity, on the other hand, changes the entire game. It takes the energy of conflict and turns it into understanding. Instead of asking, how dare they? Curiosity asks, what's really happening here? Curiosity doesn't excuse bad behavior. It explains it. It's not about letting someone off the hook. It's about seeing beyond the surface. When you ask yourself why someone acted a certain way, you shift from taking it personally to seeing it contextually. Maybe they're overwhelmed, insecure, or unaware. Maybe they're repeating what they've seen modeled all their life. Curiosity turns disrespect from a personal attack into a puzzle to understand. The power of curiosity lies in how it diffuses tension. When you respond to hostility with a calm question, are you okay? Or, help me understand what you mean by that. You interrupt the emotional rhythm of the exchange. Most people expect resistance, not reflection. Your calm curiosity forces them to confront their own behavior without you needing to accuse or defend. It's emotional judo. You use their energy not against them, but to redirect the moment toward awareness. Curiosity also protects your peace. Instead of feeding anger, it feeds empathy. When you seek to understand, your brain engages higher reasoning rather than reactive defense. You're no longer trapped in the emotional whirlpool of the situation. You observe it from above. That distance gives you clarity to decide whether the conversation is worth continuing or if walking away is the wiser move. Practicing curiosity doesn't mean you become naive or tolerant of disrespect. It means you become strategic. You're gathering information about the other person, about the situation, and about yourself. Every time you choose curiosity, you're teaching your nervous system to stay steady under pressure. You're building the muscle of restraint, not repression. In many cases, curiosity exposes what confrontation hides. It reveals the insecurity behind arrogance, the fear behind anger, the pain behind cruelty. When you see that, it becomes harder to take their behavior as truth about you. You start to realize that disrespect often says, I'm hurting, even if it's shouted as, you're worthless. That awareness doesn't make their behavior acceptable, but it makes it less capable of controlling your emotions. Curiosity also redefines strength. True strength isn't found in overpowering someone. It's found in understanding them without losing yourself. It's the ability to hold space for clarity while maintaining your boundaries. You don't need to raise your voice to make your presence felt. Curiosity speaks through calm confidence. And when you consistently choose curiosity over confrontation, you shift from being reactive to being wise. You start creating peace, not because others always deserve it, but because you do. Lead by example, not emotion. And when disrespect enters the room, it's tempting to meet emotion with emotion, anger with anger, sarcasm with sarcasm. But the moment you do, you become part of the very energy you wish to rise above. Leadership in its truest form begins not when you control others, but when you control yourself. Leading by example means showing others, through your presence, that composure is more powerful than chaos. It means being the steady voice when everyone else is shouting. People mirror emotion instinctively. It's how we're wired. When someone raises their voice, our body prepares to match their tone. But leadership is about breaking that reflex. It's about being the emotional thermostat, not the thermometer. Instead of absorbing the temperature of the room, you set it. When you stay calm in the face of disrespect, you quietly teach others that it's possible. You model restraint, dignity, and control. And that presence alone begins to shift the environment. Leading by example doesn't mean suppressing your feelings or pretending the situation doesn't affect you. It means acknowledging your emotions privately, managing them wisely, and choosing your response deliberately. You don't have to deny that you're hurt or angry. You just don't let those feelings dictate your behavior. Emotion is information, not instruction. You use it to understand what's happening, not to decide what happens next. When you lead with composure, people notice. They may not say it out loud, but they feel it. Your calm unsettles the aggressor because it denies them control, and it inspires the observer because it shows what self-mastery looks like in real time. The person who stays calm under pressure earns a kind of respect that noise can never command. That's the kind of influence that changes not just moments, but people. This kind of leadership requires humility. It means letting go of the need to win every exchange or have the last word. You realize that your goal isn't to prove your superiority. It's to preserve your integrity. When you act from ego, you compete. When you act from purpose, you lead. The person who can remain centered in chaos becomes a guided post for everyone else who's losing direction. In many cases, the most profound leadership doesn't happen in front of an audience. It happens in small, quiet interactions, how you handle the rude comment, the dismissive tone, the public slight. Every reaction you choose becomes an example of what strength looks like. You're showing people, including yourself, that calm isn't the absence of power, it's the presence of it. Leading by example in moments of disrespect also changes how others remember you. Long after the words fade, people remember how they felt around you. Did your reaction escalate the tension, or did it diffuse it? Did you add noise, or did you bring clarity? When you lead with calm, you leave a mark that's subtle but lasting. A reminder that control of self is the highest form of influence. And when you consistently choose to lead by example rather than by emotion, you stop being defined by how others treat you. You start being defined by how you respond. That's the essence of true leadership, not power over others, but power over self. Turn the moment into meaning. Every experience of disrespect carries a choice. You can let it wound you, or you can let it teach you. Most people focus only on the sting, the sharp edge of the insult, the bitterness of being misunderstood or undervalued. But within that discomfort lies an invitation, an opportunity to turn pain into perspective. Growth doesn't happen in moments of praise, it happens in moments of pressure. The key is not to ask, why did this happen to me? But what can this teach me? A disrespect reveals where your peace is fragile. It exposes the cracks in your self-worth and highlights the areas where your validation still depends on others. That awareness is uncomfortable, but it's also powerful. Once you see what still triggers you, you have a roadmap for growth. You begin to work not on changing them, but on strengthening yourself. The moment that once hurt you becomes a mirror, showing you where your work truly lies. Turning the moment into meaning also allows you to rise above resentment. Holding on to anger gives the offender free rent in your mind, but choosing to learn from the experience reclaims that space. It turns the same memory that could have haunted you into one that now guides you. You begin to see that every encounter, pleasant or painful, has the potential to refine your character. Some people enter your life to support you, others to strengthen you. Both serve a purpose. When you extract meaning from disrespect, you stop replaying the event and start reinterpreting it. Instead of thinking, they disrespected me, you begin to think, they taught me patience, or they reminded me to trust my boundaries. That shift doesn't erase the pain, but it transforms it. It turns something reactive into something reflective. It gives the moment value instead of letting it remain a scar. Meaning also comes from what you choose to do next. Maybe the lesson is to speak up with firmness instead of silence. Maybe it's to distance yourself from toxic dynamics. Or maybe it's simply to remember your strength and staying calm. Whatever the takeaway, meaning turns a moment of disrespect into a moment of direction. It gives purpose to what could have been just pain. In time, you start to notice that staying calm isn't just about managing conflict, it's about shaping character. Each time you respond with grace instead of anger, you reinforce your values. Each time you walk away from provocation, you walk closer to peace. You realize that calm isn't the absence of emotion, it's the alignment of emotion with intention. Turning the moment into meaning also sets you free from the need for revenge or validation. You stop trying to change the past or the people in it. Instead, you carry the lesson forward. You begin to see disrespect not as a setback, but as a stepping stone toward deeper resilience and self-awareness. And eventually, what once felt like an insult becomes a story of growth. A chapter where you learn to protect your peace, to stand in your truth, and to transform what was meant to diminish you into something that defined you.